There was some talk about donk doing that wide peek and slide thing. So I wanna talk about that and some other stuff about peeking and making yourself hard to hit. The basic idea being that even with all the objectives and like weird meta stuff and utility and objectives and whatever, it's at the end of the day a lot of rounds are decided on getting those couple of like key kills, and really it's not about just about doing 100 damage to the opponent, but it's about doing 100 damage to them before they do 100 damage to you in a very simplified 1v1 situation. So what the donk peak is it's kind of just like an adjustment or something that's getting attention now, but the basic idea's been around for forever, ever since at least in CS:GO improved crouching or crab walking accuracy. And the basic idea is you just wide swing through a corner, forcing them to, or like crossing their held angle really fast, and then you fuck with their adjustment by crouching and starting walking back, and you're still accurate. So if you imagine being here in slow motion, what's happening is they cross my angle, I have to adjust, and by the time I've adjusted to where their head was here, they've already crouched and they're going back, so their head's here when my crosshair gets here, and they're relying on having to hit actually a surprisingly hard shot, whereas I'm crossing, I'm getting the info, like I'm getting to adjust essentially while I'm not shooting yet, because I'm crossing, then I'm crouching, and then I'm going back. And I haven't really like, I'm probably not very fluent at this, but it's basically just like, you know, and that's essentially all there is. And the reason it's so effective is you can't really like hold an angle expecting to be picked like that unless everyone starts doing it, and when everyone starts doing it, then if you hold an angle like this, which feels stupid, then what happens is people are just gonna go back to picking it like this. So what's gonna happen is you can't hold an angle like this expecting that kind of peak, which means it's effective even if everyone knows it's a possible peak. So to play around it, you're gonna have to like deny the swing, or like deny the advantage that they get from you having to adjust. Like if you see them peak, you're just gonna have to fall back and get another angle, unless you're like having another advantage, like having two people here in a setup or something. But that's basically just the idea of that peak is essentially just extending the idea of the old classic wide swing into a crouch that's been around forever. Just like it's not a new concept, but the addition of also moving back makes it obviously more effective. And it ties into this basic concept of making yourself harder to hit, because obviously you're trying to hit the enemy and they're trying to hit you, and in that extremely simplified setup there's two ways to get an edge. One is making the opponent easier to hit, and one is making it harder for them to hit you. And if you think about, say, flashing a corner, like if someone just, if you throw a flash like this or whatever, then what you're actually doing when you're flashing someone here is you're making it harder for them to hit you back, right? Because they're blind, they can't hit you, and that's the basic idea of getting the advantage. And even you can apply this thought to even like clearing corners and taking space, where you're taking routes and you're clearing angles in a way where you're harder to hit by virtue of not being exposed to as many angles. Like you're clearing this, then you're clearing these angles one by one, and that's making you harder to hit. Or even like say a basic up angle like this corner here is because what's gonna happen if you just hold it passively like this is you're gonna get one person just flying by your crosshair or scope, making it requiring you to adjust, or maybe even two, and getting instantly created even if you get the first one. So what I like to do like is just like I'm constantly peeking into this. So when I see when I finally see someone, I'm peeking into them, or we're peeking into each other, and they're not like. What's gonna happen is if they hold this, I'm not gonna they're not just gonna walk into me holding a static angle, them being farther from the corner and just being able to hit me like that. But instead I'm peeking into it constantly. When I'm far enough, I just go back and start doing it again, and then it's easy for me to fall back. Other like sorts of peaks you can do. There's surprisingly many. One is like jiggling to get the info, and then when they always jiggle picking this, they're gonna be ready like here, holding this angle, trying to tap you. So once you get the info that there's someone there, then you go wide. Essentially, you're trying to not walk into their crosshairs, and that's the reason also like why we don't walk around corners, because it's so slow and you're just gonna get tapped. And it's important to know that you get like a, if you listen to when the footstep starts, you get a little bit of ramp up in your speed before they start, so you can full swing corners without making a footstep before you're out. Other stuff about being hard to hit is the fact that you're just moving, like essentially what used to be called just 80-80 spamming move, like just making it harder for them to hit you. And you can throw in a crouch. Crouching in general is kind of a double-edged thing, because if you manage to pop it in or control your angles with it, it's fine. Say you're on a pistol around here, you're coming through here, and you might even want to like crouch peek into this, because they're gonna hold this with a USP, and they're gonna go for it, search for this headshot right here, and when your head's there, you have a good chance of literally just tapping them in the head, throwing off their aim, and following that up with a kill. Another note about those crouch peaks, like the donk peak here, is that if there's someone, you know, I don't know, let's just like here somewhere in a far away land, then it's not gonna, like, this isn't gonna do shit, because it's the adjustment needed is so small in, or relatively speaking, and then once you're not probably gonna hit that headshot right away. So what's gonna happen is now you're stuck crab walking like this, while this guy is just tapping away as well, so the advantage isn't really there compared to doing essentially anything else. What else? I guess while we're here, we're gonna talk about like peaking angles in general. Let's find something with a proper distance. I guess long corner is fine. There's a guy here. Fuck, I inside a bot. There's a guy here. What's gonna happen? This is like the thing I keep talking about. Is he sees me now? He sees my shoulder because he's further away from the corner, and that's just how angles work. Like, you know, my body is showing, right? Like, you can even see my foot there, but I can't see that guy, but he's gonna see my foot. And but if we place him here, now they don't see me, but I can see them. And that's a lot of the time is the very basic fact that makes people go like, oh no, I didn't even see him. Fucking lag when all that happens was having that knowledge of how angles work. And that's why, you know, people like to play this from here. But the flip side of that is if you're holding an angle like this, where they are, where you can't really be further away from the corner than they are. They're always gonna see you first, essentially. Let's say you don't even have a flash or anything, this is just like the basic situation that you want to pick them. Then clearing like this isn't gonna be great, so you wanna crosshair fast, forcing the quick adjustment. And this is sort of like this, and the thing we talked about here, going out from long with the thing here, is essentially why the so-called donk pick is a mid to close range tool to be used, and not a super long range technique. So just like crossing fast. And this is also this kind of relative speed and distance. Say this is what, like, just a few player models, let's say 3 player models, which would be around here from the long corner. And if you look at the adjustment I have to make here to hit that shot, the same distance compared to doing it like here, or even let's take a realistic angle like here, then this is a bigger adjustment, which is why and it's also, the speed is also gonna be relatively faster compared to the angle or the dude aiming there, which means that these kind of close angles, as well as an off holding a tight angle, the traditional wisdom of this kind of peeking goes away, and you're actually looking for a wide swing, which generally you don't want to do, because if you look at what you're exposed to, I'm exposed to one angle, and I'm constantly clearing these one by one, but because it's such a close angle, and they're all like in that same general area, then wide swing quickly becomes extremely more viable and reasonable. I don't know. Let's see. What else? I guess while we're here, we can talk about these kind of headshot angles, where what I see some people do is just like, and what you really need to do is actually like keep popping out from like different. You're gonna need to keep popping out from different spots. You're gonna wanna keep crouching, uncrouching, going around, because the target isn't big. Let's see if we can actually throw like a bot here, or I don't know, here I guess. Like that head as such isn't big, but if it's not moving, adjusting to it is not hard. So that's why, like, in a headshot angle like this, it becomes increasingly important to keep moving. even if you don't see anyone here, just like making yourself hard to hit isn't only about peeking, it's also about being peeked. So if you're like doing this kind of thing here, well, obviously this is expecting that you can't get peeked from here for whatever reason. Maybe it's not smoke and you have a friend there, but like you're constantly like jiggling so that when they come out here, you're not static and they can't just like pop you. But when, again, the same principle as in the donk peak, you're forcing them to adjust, and then by the time they've adjusted, you're already somewhere else. And that's the sort of like reason why you're not holding static angles on sights. Like you're not holding cat like this, right? Like if you hold cat like this, what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen is like you're gonna get pop. You're gonna get owned, and that's why in general you're either like doing some sort of movement, or then you're just hiding and peeking it on a timing. Because if you think about a guy clearing this, they're gonna maybe hold it for a second to see if someone pops up, but eventually they're gonna have to move away from the angle, and then you can pop out and get a free shot off. And that's part of making yourself hard to hit, is movement and timing, and mixing those two together. And you can essentially like see this concept everywhere in decision making in Counter-Strike. If you look at people who have been playing for a while, like even crossing mid doors, like smoking cross isn't, at the end of the day, it's about making yourself hard to hit, because you're crossing this and it's harder to hit someone. Obviously harder to hit someone you can't see, right? Harder to hit them in the smoke. But if you jump across like this, a good AWPer will be able to, because let's be real here, you're not a KZ god. A good AWPer will be able to follow the trajectory and just like pop you, either like tag you or get you in the head. So that's basically like a lot of things surprisingly often comes down to making them easier to hit or yourself harder to hit. There was something. Well then, you don't. While we're talking about peeking, you're not always trying to full send it either. There's things you can do like jump into a corner, just like try and bait the shutout. Try and bait the shutout by basically coming in and in the air, well, coming back. I don't know. Not a super good mover. But I've done it before, and it's not hard against like low mid skill hoppers to bait out that shot, or then you're trying to like bait it out like this, and you don't, because you're only trying to bait out the shot, you don't need to see the corner, you don't need to see it, but like even here your shoulder is visible, so you basically just like trying to bait it out, and then once they shoot, you go wide, and then I guess the last one, I don't even know if it's the last, but the last thing you can do is just jump a corner. And there's two sort of situations essentially where you want to do this at the basic level. One is you have a friend ready to peek, so you're trying to bait the shot out by being fast. If you're super pro, you do a run boost, but like you're just going around the corner, and then your friends taking advantage of the fact that you baited the shot out or got the info. And the other other sort of like situation is just simply forcing that adjustment or making yourself harder to hit while using a weapon with a decent jumping, running accuracy and a fast movement speed. So like if there's someone there holding an angle, you can just like, it's gonna be harder for them to hit you potentially. Yeah, those are like some peak types that you can use, and it's important to realize that there's no like the donk peak isn't some kind of I win button that if you learn that peak it's gonna make you drop 30 in every 20 round game. But it's a good tool to have, and a lot of people aren't doing it, which makes it even more effective. And yeah, it's one of those things where if you talk to someone who's been playing Counter-Strike for like a decade or two, they might not even consciously think about the different types of peaks they're doing, but they have picked it up, and they will pick angles like this differently than they're picking angles like this, and they won't necessarily even, like if you ask and they have a minute to think about it, they'll probably be able to formulate the reason, but it's might not even be like a fully conscious thing why they're doing it, and it's just a good thing to know that there are different tools for different situations when it comes to peaking and making yourself harder to hit, and also in terms of being harder to hit, obviously understanding not only timings like what we talked about here, but also or being exposed, like clearing angles, or like playing long from here when you don't have cat control or cat info, but also positioning in general, like knowing what are the commonly pre-fired angles. Like if you're playing from here, there's a very good chance you're just gonna get blinded by a like that, or just simply even like on an anti-eco, just gonna get pre-fired. And knowing, not only knowing what their common and pre-fireable angles, but knowing what angles your opponents are able to clear without being exposed to anywhere else. They can, when they come out here, this is the only thing they ever have to worry about. They don't have to worry about sight. Sight's all the way out there. The guy playing cross can't peek them, assuming they got their peaks and that they're actually not like fighting for this corner anymore. Then the only thing they have to worry about is car, and that's why car is kind of a high risk position, and just like knowing stuff like that, like same with, but like here, knowing also what your teammates are playing. Say your teammate is playing here, and you're up here, and you're able to like time your peaks together, like peeking, or even if you're not peeking together, but like taking quick as low risk peaks as you can, where your those are kind of shitty peaks to take, but the general idea works, where you're peeking from different positions, forcing those kind of adjustments, and the enemy not being able to only focus on one of you makes yourself harder, makes you harder to hit as well. I don't know, that's a lot of stuff. There's a lot more that goes into being hard to hit, I think, but this is the basics of it that I can think of right now, so I hope that's useful to someone at least.